So, Commiefornia is intent on destroying the fast food industry. Now, Commiefornia's plan to get fast food workers fired. New bill would empower a committee to set industry wages. It's a terrible idea. Yeah, you know what's going to happen? They're just going to replace everyone with robots. Those touchscreen kiosks for ordering, they're going to have machines to actually make the food. So all they'll need to hire are technicians to do repairs every once in a while and people to just keep the machines stocked. So apparently unhappy with the current pace of business migration out of their state, California's legislators have come up with a good idea to accelerate it. They voted recently to create a council of political appointees to set wages in the fast food industry. The so-called Fast Recovery Act awaits Emperor Newsom's signature. He can't quash this ill-conceived initiative quickly enough. Now, California already has a minimum wage of $15 an hour. The new measure envisions rising this to as high as $22 with inflation-linked increases to follow, but only for those who work for big fast food chains. Why this group should be singled out for special protection isn't entirely clear. Lobbying. Yes, the bill's proponents believe the market-determined wages are inherently predatory and that the franchise business model compounds this underlying problem. Even so, the fast food industry seems strangely narrow target. Look at who stands to benefit the most, and they're probably right next to those in power. There's lobbying afoot here. Then again, this is just the start. With luck, the bill's advocates believe this approach will eventually be applied to other industries as well, and other states will follow California's lead. If you want to go off a cliff, you follow California's lead. In due course, micromanaged wage fixing will apply to many more low-wage workers in many more industries. How hard could it be? So right now we're at a tipping point in the U.S. Florida is showing how to do things correctly. California is showing how to fuck up. Which way are we going to go, huh? Labor markets aren't perfect. Even now with unemployment low and wages trending higher, they don't guarantee well-paid jobs for workers without skills in demand. That's how it's always been. If you want higher pay, you need to have a skill that is not easy to get. Now, policymakers certainly need to address this, but must be careful not to make life harder for the intended beneficiaries. Moderate minimum wages attuned to local conditions, subsidies such as earned income tax credit that boost demand for workers, and programs to expand relevant vocational training and apprenticeships are all eminently desirable. I agree. So they're not going to do any of this good stuff, and they're just going to, they think they can micromanage their way out of it. Creating unaccountable bureaucracies to set wages industry by industry is not. So these same communists, they bitch about corporations, and yet they're falling for the same trap. So before corporations were invented, pretty much every business was either a sole proprietorship owned by a single guy or a partnership. And there was no legal separation between the business and the owners. If the business goes bankrupt, the company owners went bankrupt with it. It gave them an incentive to not focus on short-term gains, just knowing that they can deploy their golden parachute and get out before it bites them in the ass. They actually had to focus on, since their own personal fortunes were tied to these businesses, they couldn't afford to mismanage them. And now they're doing the same thing here. They're going to have unelected, unaccountable bureaucrats that fuck up the whole industry. And then when they get called out on it, they're just going to resign with their millions of dollars, and you'll never hear from them again. A statewide minimum wage for a subset of workers would arbitrarily fragment California's labor market. They already did that with the truckers. Raise prices for consumers and depress investment across the industry. The incentive to hire would fall, and the return to automation would rise. Absolutely. As these effects become apparent, the bill supporters would doubtless see the need for further rounds of regulatory repair. Once you start to dismantle markets, it's hard to stop. Yeah, the only solution to the problem we created is more of our interference. That's the government mindset. California's legislators see their state as a vanguard for the enlightened economic regulation. Yeah, California is going to be like the slums of the U.S. soon enough. In some cases, such as environmental policy, they've on occasion set examples the rest of the country would indeed be wise to follow. Zeal to cripple the market of labor, however, doesn't serve the state's interests. It might be good news for Texas and Florida as further confirmation that California is no friend to business, But this isn't the message Newsom wants to send. If this isn't the message he wants to send, he should veto the bill and say why. I think that might be in the best interest of Florida and Texas anyway, because the more of these communists move there and continue voting for the shit that ruined their previous state, the worse it is for Florida and Texas. God, this might be a disaster soon enough.